And so if we think about that, as we have more ability to pump things from our heart, fresh blood and fresh energy sources from our heart out to those muscles that need it, then we're going to be able to clear that congestion and be able to recover faster, okay? If we have better recovery, then we're going to be thinking about being able to have more efforts at high intensity, right? Or more efforts at a solid, consistent intensity, okay? And then because of that, we'll be able to increase our overall fitness, okay? So that's kind of where it parts. All right, so that's sort of our base talk about that, okay? We didn't touch too much on the health perspective of this, but something that you guys can kind of be thinking about as you think about the aerobic system is what we're doing sort of is exercising or like massaging the arteries that are kind of coming out of the heart, okay? And the more those get exercised, the more they contract and expand, the more that they gain that ability to start to grow and build a little bit bigger, okay? So if we start here, right, we start to work our oxygen system, this is all the blood we can get through, and then we start massaging and exercising that, and starts to grow and expand, and then we get to where it's this big, right? Now our heart's gonna be able to be much more efficient in terms of it's gonna have to do less work to get the same amount of new blood sources to those muscles, okay? Which means a lower resting heart rate, which means less stress on the heart overall, okay? So from a health perspective, that's hugely important. All right, so going now a little bit into kind of where CrossFit was with endurance. So I started CrossFit relatively early, 2007, 8, 9. It was a special forces thing in the military, right? And they were, all the early adopters were Navy SEALs. And so obviously guys that are very, very, high speed, high intensity, go-getters. And it sort of started with a lot of this culture of, and obviously I was a young guy then, of young men going pretty hard and kind of competing against each other, right? And if the way that I always kind of think about this is we all know who Usain Bolt is, yes, right? Okay, we all know who Michael Phelps is, right? Can anybody tell me the best male distance swimmer? Or the best male distance runner? I'm counting on you two mainly. Yeah. Right. There's maybe a couple, like Mo Farah maybe, or there's like a couple of people. So not many, right? And the reason is the short, the intense, the fast, it's kind of sexy, right? People are like, oh, this is fun to watch. I can watch it in 10 seconds, like awesome, right? Watching a 10K swim, not super sexy, right? Not the most fun thing in the world. And so the same thing happened to CrossFit, right? People were like, Fran, Grace, 1 rep max snatch, 1 rep max this, right? Like, let's get really good at that super sexy stuff because that's the stuff people are gonna watch. Nobody really loved watching this guy named Nick Forey, who was like the best chipper CrossFit athlete ever. And he would kill these long endurance, like crazy hard Metcons and just crush everybody. And none of you guys have probably ever heard of him, right? And so this is kind of one of the things that started with CrossFit too. And so what happened was a lot of athletes really started to maximize on the inner circle, right? As opposed to growing that outer circle. Well, the sport in that inner circle started to evolve really, really, really quickly. Okay, because that's a little bit easier to create, okay? So we practice building intensity. That's a little bit simpler to do than spending the time building those endurance reps and building an aerobic system, which takes a little bit more time to do, okay? So what happened then was athletes started to cap out, and we started to look for new ways to PR. We started to hit these plateaus that were really hard, and this happened in like 2011, 12, 13. And times couldn't get any faster. It was like everybody it was like, okay, cool, we can do a 2-minute Fran time. We can do a 6-minute Helen time. We can do all these workouts at this pace, and absolutely nobody in the world can seem to get faster than those, okay? So the only answer then was for these small subset of athletes, so like Rich Froning and Jason Kalipa and Camille and a couple others, they started working with Chris Hinshaw, and they started finding endurance coaches to start to work with. And then they started dominating people. And then this sort of became the way that all these top athletes started to train. And we'll talk a little bit about some of that stuff. And we don't need to worry or concern ourselves too much with the way that games athletes train, outside of the fact that they are always looking for optimal, right? They're looking to create optimal fitness. And so what you see now is for 9 months out of the year, these guys do way more aerobic training and physical therapy and kind of small muscle and movement development than they do spending time doing a lot of these super hard, intense, short, high burst, high energy Metcons, okay? So we're gonna talk about why that matters here in a second. So at the affiliate level, this has been something that's been a long discussion between programmers and some of the higher level affiliates that have been around for a while, and seen clients stay long enough to where they start to cap out, right? In terms of, I've sort of been at this same time in these workouts for quite a while, and I can't seem to get past it, right? So how can I start to improve that? And the reason why, or at least my contention, is Dr. Alm's contention, which is he has the term CrossFitting things, right? So he prescribes physical therapy to somebody. He's like, hey, I want you to work your external rotation for 3 sets of 10, holding a 2.5-pound dumbbell. People are like, yeah, he said 3 sets of 10. I did 12 sets of 10. And they're like, hell yeah. And I did, like, he said do it with a 2.5. I did it with a 20. And it's like, they try to CrossFit things. They try to make things harder than they're supposed to be, right? There are some things, physical therapy and aerobic training being the main two important ones that we're going to talk about today. There are some things that are supposed to feel easy. They're not by design designed to be hard. When we're doing external rotation exercises, we're working a little bit more of some of those smaller, stabilizing muscle groups. And when you go heavier, what we do is we engage the bigger muscle groups, which we're not trying to exercise at that time, right? And the same thing's going to be true as aerobic training. When we're doing aerobic training, we're trying to create a larger aerobic system, better oxidative pathways. And as soon as you go too hard, you go into an anaerobic state, and we lose that ability to maximize our gains in the aerobic zone, okay? Not that we aren't using the aerobic zone still, we're just not maximizing it, okay? And we're also making it harder to recover for our next session, okay? So this is one of the things that we see with people is they ramp up their rate of perceived effort in every CrossFit class to 20. They say, I'm only going to come today if I can go balls to the wall. I have to be able to do things prescribed. I have to do this, or I'm just not going to come in. And it's really a really poor way to kind of express yourself in CrossFit. In reality, we should almost be thinking about some days should maybe be a 12, some days should be a 14, maybe one day a week would be a 20. And then we're kind of going in and out as the day prescribes and how we feel and based around what we're doing the rest of our days, okay? If we know we've got 8 hours of mulching that afternoon, we might not want to ramp things up to a 20 on the rate of perceived effort. That's going to be a pretty crappy rest of your day. You're not going to recover before you start mulching. Then you're going to go mulch all day. Then you're not going to recover before your training session the next day. And you're going to start to dig yourself into this pit. It's really hard to get yourself out of, okay? So better in that way would be to think about doing some light aerobic activity, prep yourself for that. You'll recover in time. You'll open up your oxidative pathways for mulching, so on, okay? Does anybody have any questions on that? Sometimes it's like a revelation for CrossFitters. They're like, wait, what? I don't have to go like super hard, but Coach Mitchell tells me to go hard every day. Coach Ryan's over here and he's prepping us. He's like, guys, Hero Friday, we're here. You're gonna ram yourself into the wall. We got to do it for the hero. We got to do this. And it's like, and you have to be, mature enough to be able to say, like, actually, I can't do that today, right? That is challenging. What's up, Praveen? Come on in. Oh, I lost one. So this is one of the biggest things that I'm trying to create here. And if you guys have, listened to the podcast or anything like that, you know that the biggest culture that I'm trying to do is making sure that every athlete in their own independent practice of CrossFit is doing what's best for them, right? So they have a plan with a coach that's working for them. Some people that's going to involve nutrition, other people that's not. Some people that's going to involve talking more about stress management and sleep, other people that's not. Some people that's going to involve physical therapy and injury prevention, other people that's not, right? Ryan and I, we don't talk a lot about that because he's like 17 and he moves pretty well. Does not dealing with a lot of injuries, and what he does, it's like, hey, I'm better, I'm cool, right? And then somebody like Rev, right? We're talking a little bit more about injury prevention, right? We're moving better, trying to keep those joints healthy. We're trying to make sure we're being smart. So everybody should be doing what's best for them. And that's why this rate of perceived effort thing is really important, is if we're coming in and we're ramping up to 20, but we're focused a little bit more on injury prevention, longevity, and health, then that's not what's best for us, okay? But Rye, maybe making it, trying to be a little more competitive with things, he might need to be at a 20 a little bit more often.